The Orion massacre began with laughter. Not human laughter, but the cruel, rasping chitter of the Krill Dominion, echoing through the comms of burning ships. Their flagship, Devourer of Dawn, drifted above the human colony world of Orion IV like a god over an altar. Below, cities burned in concentric rings of fire. "Observe how the soft ones scatter," hissed Overlord Vraek from his command dais, mandibles clicking with delight. They believed trade pacts would protect them. They believed in treaties. On the screens, fleeing civilian transports were torn apart by ion beams. Children's evacuation vessels, unarmed, unshielded, turned to vapor trails in the atmosphere. The Krill fleet circled the planet, methodical, dispassionate, exterminating all life. "End transmissions," Vraek ordered, his tone almost bored. "Mark the sector as sterilized. The humans must learn their place." The comms officer clicked its mandibles. "The Terran Protectorate will protest." Vraek's eyes glowed cold blue. "Let them protest. Rage is a spark, brief, harmless. They are too scattered, too civilized. They will grieve, then kneel." As the last human signal from Orion died, the Krill fleet turned toward the next target. Behind them, the fires of Orion still burned. A funeral pyre seen from orbit, a silent scream rising toward the indifferent stars. Feast of Arrogance weeks later. In the vaulted halls of the Krill Dominion capital, the victors celebrated. Hollow projections of Orion's destruction looped endlessly above the banquet dais. Ambassadors from allied empires toasted to the containment of humanity's spread. "The Terrans were expanding too fast," said a Char envoy, swirling bioluminescent wine. "Their colonies sprang up like fungus. This will teach them restraint." A roar of approval followed. In the back of the hall, a single Terran diplomat, the last human representative allowed on Krill Prime, stood silent, his expression unreadable. Ambassador Raymond Hale of the Terran Protectorate. He'd begged them for peace months ago, warned that humanity's patience was not infinite. Now they sneered at him. "You humans mourn so loudly," hissed a Krill warlord. "Do you not understand inevitability? The strong consume the weak. It is the way of the stars." Hale stared at the hollow of Orion's burning surface. Then quietly, he spoke. "You mistake silence for weakness. We bury our dead before we raise our banners." The Krill laughed. Hale turned and left, his diplomatic insignia removed from his chest, the ancient symbol of a handshake falling to the marble floor with a metallic clink. He would never be seen again. The silence before the storm for a month. The galaxy waited for Earth's reply. None came, no fleets mobilized, no ultimatums were issued. The Terran Council went dark. Trade routes to Sol were sealed. Ambassadors were recalled. The networks filled with speculation. "Perhaps the humans have accepted their losses," mused the Char. "They are emotional creatures," added the Vossen. "Their sorrow consumes them. Soon they'll fade into obscurity." And so, the great powers went about their business. Convoys passed near Terran space without challenge. Human colonies beyond the outer rim were quietly abandoned. But in the void, far from the core systems, far from any listening ear, the stars began to move. Sensor stations on the galactic edge caught impossible readings. Massive gravitational disturbances, fleets forming in shadowed space, warp signatures overlapping by the thousands. "Impossible," one observer whispered, watching the data cascade. No species could coordinate so many vessels in silence. They could. They did. When Earth awoke at a 0327, Terran Standard, all comms beacons across the Orion Arm received a single message. No encryption, no signature, just one line pulsing in red: "Orion burns, Earth rises." Moments later, every dormant shipyard in Sol lit up like a newborn sun. The forge rings of Mars roared to life, hammering dreadnought hulls with magnetic anvils the size of cities. The lunar core foundries opened their sealed arsenals, relics of wars long past, thought to be decommissioned. Titans slept no longer. Civilian ships were recalled, converted, repurposed. Orbital stations vanished from registry lists. Then came the fleets, black-armored leviathans, their hulls marked only with the insignia of a burning world, Orion's last sunrise. For the first time in 2 centuries, Earth declared total war. The message delivered, on the fringes of Krill space. A lone relay station picked up a Terran signal. Distorted, ancient, transmitted on a frequency unused since the early space age. A robotic voice spoke in the old Terran tongue, slow and calm. "This is Earth Command. You have taken from us what we cannot replace. In return, we will take from you what you cannot defend. Prepare yourselves. Your reckoning has begun." Then the transmission ended. The Krill commanders scoffed. "A bluff," said one. "Their fleets are fractured, their colonies isolated. Even if they strike, we are ready." But the next day, Sector 12 went dark. Every ship, every outpost, every moon, gone. Not destroyed, but erased. Sensors recorded no energy weapons, no bombardments. Only silence, and the faint echo of mass shadows. Something vast, something cold, passing through faster than light could track. The iron flood it began as a whisper across the comnets. "The Terrans are coming." At first, no one believed it. But then came the images. The Krill Vanguard fleet, 500 strong, annihilated in orbit around the fortress world of Dren. The recordings showed the impossible. Human ships emerging from warped space with engines glowing blue-white. Their weapons silent until impact. They didn't fire plasma or energy beams. They hurled mass, asteroids, ship fragments, raw tungsten rods, accelerated to near-relativistic speeds. No shields could stop them. Entire continents vanished in seconds. Then the human ground forces came. Armored soldiers in reflective exosuits, faceless, tireless. Their drop pods fell like meteors, each strike carving craters kilometers wide. The Krill, once predators of the stars, screamed in panic. Their fleets broke. Their colonies burned. Their empire began to crumble from the edges inward. Every transmission the Terrans sent was the same. "You thought our rage small. You mistook our grief for surrender. You were wrong." The fall of the Dominion, the Krill tried to sue for peace. They sent envoys through neutral intermediaries. No reply came. They tried to retreat, abandoning entire sectors to slow humanity's advance. But the Terrans didn't pursue. They purged. Every world the Krill left behind was sterilized. Every supply line obliterated. The galaxy watched in horror as the Dominion, an empire that had ruled for 1,000 years, collapsed in less than 6 months. The Terrans renamed every captured system with one word: Orion. Krill scientists analyzed human weapons, desperate to understand them. But there was no pattern. Each engagement showed different technologies, tactics, even philosophies of war. It was as if humanity's rage itself was evolving. Learning, adapting, not a military campaign, but a species-wide vengeance. Fleet Admiral Karav of the Krill Home Defense made his last broadcast as Earth's armadas closed around the capital. "They are not fighting for conquest," he said. "They are not fighting for survival. They are fighting because they remember. The fire that ate the stars." When Earth's final fleet reached Krill Prime, the planet's defense grid was still active. Billions of guns, planetary shields layered like oceans of energy. It didn't matter. The humans didn't attack. They surrounded the system. Thousands of ships in perfect silence, forming a vast sphere that eclipsed the sun. Then, without a word, they opened the containment locks on what they called Project Ragefire. No one outside humanity knew what it was. Not until it ignited, a sun was born where none should be. A controlled stellar detonation. A weaponized star. Its gravity folded space itself. Krill Prime did not explode. It was consumed. Every satellite, every ship, every particle of matter drawn inward into incandescent oblivion. The light reached the galactic rim, a wound in the night sky, visible for centuries. The humans watched in silence. No cheers, no celebration. Only the whisper of one word transmitted across the void. Balance. Whispers in the dark. The war ended not with treaties, but with absence. The Terrans withdrew into their borders. Their fleets vanished from sensors. Communications ceased once more, but across the galaxy, stories spread like wildfire. Of the world that dared mock humanity and was erased. Of the silence before Earth moved, and the storm that followed. Of fleets that blotted out suns, and a rage so vast it devoured stars. The survivors, few and broken, tried to warn others. "Do not provoke them," they whispered. "Do not test their mercy." The Galactic Councils banned human aggression as a subject of study. Some even declared Sol a forbidden zone. Pilgrims came to see the scar where Krill Prime once was. A void still glowing faintly, like an ember that refused to die. And every so often, a new signal would appear. Faint, brief, but undeniable. The same message, sent from deep within Terran space. "We remember Orion." The lesson of fire centuries later, historians would call it the Vengeance War. But humanity never gave it a name. To them, it was not glory. It was not conquest. It was grief given form, an unbound rage that no species should ever awaken again. They returned to their rebuilding, silent, patient, watchful. They traded again, spoke again, even smiled again. But deep beneath the civility, every race knew the truth. Earth was not a world, it was a fuse. And the universe had learned too late what happens when that fuse is lit. Because they thought humanity's rage small, but it consumed the stars.